got done watching The Glass Onion. This is Knives Out 2, a brand new Knives Out mystery in the world, following Daniel Craig's character from the original movie in a brand new mystery that he must solve. I've been so excited for this because my first instance walking out of the original Knives Out was I could watch thousands of these movies directed by and written by Rian Johnson and starring Daniel Craig with a whole new eclectic group of cast members, and that's what we're getting here. And to say this is not just a perfect sequel to the original Knives Out, this is better than the first Knives Out in almost every conceivable way. But with that said, guys, hi, my name is Zach. Thank you so much for clicking on this. If you are new here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and also comment down below your guys' thoughts. And do understand this will be a non-spoiler review for The Glass Onion. I'm going to be very vague when it comes down to this review because I actually never watched the trailer for this. I still have not seen a trailer for this. I don't want to see a trailer for this, and I highly emphasize if you still have not seen a trailer for this, you probably should not. But with that said, this is about tech billionaire Miles Braun, who invites his friends for a getaway on his private Greek island. When someone turns up dead, Detective Benoit Blanc is put on the case. Now again, like I mentioned, I'm a major fan of the original film, but my one big grievance with that movie is that I saw everything coming. Like, I never even saw a trailer for that, but watching the movie, instantly I knew who the killer was. Now, I'm not going to say who that is because if you still have not seen the first one, I heavily recommend it. But if you haven't seen the first one, you actually don't need to see it to watch this one. They don't even reference it, and that was actually something I was surprised by. They just move along into the next story, and that's kind of what I dig mostly about this, is that as much as this is a sequel and another mystery, it's a completely standalone story, and I love that. And to say this the least, this mystery is one of the most fun whodunits that I've ever seen, not just on screen, not that I've just read, but that I've experienced. Because most mysteries that I watch nowadays, I see every twist, every turn, and while maybe it's about to build up, I already instantly had a feeling on where this was going. Glass Onion, I never felt that. I think this is one of Rian Johnson's strongest scripts, if not his strongest one yet, and the way that every single monologue, every single sequence, every single thing that this guy developed in this movie, I was sitting there on edge waiting to see what was going to happen next. Like, to the point where I did not know who was going to be the murdered. I didn't know who was going to be the murderer. I had some thoughts and theories, but I was always wondering, well, how does that connect to this? How does that connect to this? And the way that every single element worked in harmony was impressive. And not just beautiful, but absolutely fantastic in the way that it was written. And again, I was leaning on eagerness for each and every word, and that is one of the highest acclaims I can give this movie, is how fantastic its script is, and specifically also the directing, because Rian Johnson does an amazing job kind of carrying the tone from the original Knives Out, but also infusing it with a little bit more humor, a little bit more dash of chemistry, and even enough charisma to the script, because the original one had charisma to it, but it also had this more dire and dramatic undertone to it, and I found that this one just felt a little bit more fun, and this is the tone that if to were be continued in the third film, which has already been confirmed with Netflix, that I would be absolutely all in for, and I could again just watch thousands of these movies whenever they want to get together with a brand new cast of characters with Daniel Craig and Rian Johnson. I will be there because it's so much fun, and again, if you keep up the quality this great, I can't express enough how fantastic it's going to be. But also what makes this film fantastic is, of course, the cast. Daniel Craig returns once again, and he is so good. This is I mean, I love him as James Bond. I love him as James Bond. There's nothing against that. I love his movies. 3 of his James Bond movies are my top 3 favorite 007 films of all time. But this role, just seems like he was just born to play it. He sinks his teeth into the accent. He sinks his teeth into every single one of the monologues and the fantastic dialogue moments. There's one moment in particular between him and Edward Norton in this film that is absolutely hilarious, but perfect for the character of Blanc and what it represents for him. And I absolutely ate that up. And as well as Edward Norton, speaking about him, he's fantastic. Kate Hudson, you know, I've never been the biggest fan of her when it comes down to performances, but this role was truly written for her. She was so great in here. Dave Bautista just continues to excel in each and every one of the roles he takes on. Catherine Hahn, I mean, Catherine Hahn is Catherine Hahn, but she has had such an amazing last few years, and I think this is probably one of my more favorite performances from her. And to say the least, I think out of all the actors, she does have some of the most material in here. I'm more excited after seeing this to see Agatha, her Agatha spinoff she's doing. And I loved her in WandaVision, but I've always wondered, like, how are you going to do an Agatha show? I think she can carry that, and I'm excited to see what she does there. So Leslie Odom Jr. is fantastic, Jessica Henwick, Madeline Klein, but hands down, the big standout of this movie is Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe you've probably heard about. I think she's a great actress from what I've seen her in, but this is hands down her best performance, and honestly, I would argue she deserves a Best Supporting Actress nomination for her performance in here. She gives a lot more into this role than I was expecting from just within the first 20 minutes. I was actually kind of surprised to see where they ended up taking her role and taking her character, because it is one of the most surprising aspects of the entire movie, and I think a lot of you guys are going to find that to be surprising as well, specifically because of how emotional it can actually get, and the way that it intertwines with everything else going around. And again, it was one of the biggest surprises of the entire film. That's the thing that I mentioned. There's surprises, twists, and turns to be had that, again, I did not see coming along. And one of the other things that I was actually a little bit nervous about specifically is that they discuss a lot of stuff about COVID. This takes place during COVID times when there was still a lockdown and people wearing masks. And it actually, like, at first I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this. I'm so tired of movies talking about it. It actually is one of the smartest aspects of the entire film, and it didn't bother me. And if we're talking about best COVID films taking place during COVID, this is absolutely one of them. And the way that they were actually able to represent it and bring it about in a humorous way, but also as a way that represents the times that these people were sitting in, it's very important to the story, and I actually thought it was written in a very fantastic way. Now, again, how is this going to hold up within 10, 20, 30 years? We'll have to see, but as of right now, walking out, I thought it was greatly written into the story. Surprisingly written in there. Again, like I mentioned, the dialogue's witty. It's delicious. It's delightful. It's better than the original Knives Out. The mystery is hitting on all single cylinders. The cinematography is phenomenal. The score is great. The directing, the writing, everything I could just go about in endless circles talking about the fantastic nature of this movie and how much fun I had watching it. This is the type of movie that represents and reminds you how much fun you can have in the movies. And that's what I had watching this movie. I've not had this much fun all year long in 2022. This is the film that I just sat there with a smile on my face, not wanting it to end. And for a pacing, for a runtime of 2 hours and 19 minutes, I looked at my clock, and I love to do this, kind of see how long it's been. I swore it had only been 30 minutes. It had been an hour and 15 minutes at a certain point in the film, and I was like, oh my god, we only have like an hour left. I do not want this to end, and I cannot wait to see what Rian Johnson does next with this franchise. As hot damn, The Glass Onion is better than the first Knives Out. An incredible mystery that had me all the way up to every single reveal. Rian Johnson, I cannot exclaim this enough. You are a genius, literally hanging on every single word and sequence. Some of the most fun I've had in a movie in 2022. I absolutely love this. I think it's better than the original. I think this is a perfect movie, and it's one of my favorite films of this year. So with all that said, I'm going to give The Glass Onion an A+. The movie does go into theaters next week for 1 week only. Go see this in theaters. Do not be spoiled. Do not watch a trailer. Do not look at IMDb, because there are some really surprising cameos in here as well that add to the entire story, and just really much a lot of fun to be had. If you're not able to see it in theaters, it will be on Netflix later in December, but seriously enough, stay away from spoilers. I'm so happy this movie was not spoiled for me. It was great to finally get a surprise, but I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts. Make sure again to hit that like and subscribe button, comment down below, and of course, until next time, stay classy.